adulting feels kind of weird. When you get to become older, you don't really feel like a grown up. You feel like you're still like your younger self, and you even forget what age you are sometimes. At certain moments, even for weeks or months, maybe years, you just forget. And like, it makes like like having, or like being an adult, like, it makes it feel more of like a title, not really you just become it. It just feels like it's something you just say, oh, you're an adult, you're 18, 19, doing adult like things as well. It's kind of seen as this responsibility thing. And it's just, as a kid, we had guides, guiding us on how to do certain things, how to cook our foods, how to do our laundry, how to do a whole bunch of things, how to drive, how to remember the first time you were like taught how to ride your bike. You know what I mean? You don't have that as an adult. As an adult, you just have research. You just have to research it online, which we live in a day and age where we have the internet to research a whole bunch of things, so we're lucky enough for that. And adulting, just, it kind of, the way in today's day and age is with job markets and industries, like adulting, paying like for bills and routine, and you always have to stick to a routine, whether if it's a job, whether if it's your 9 to 5 or anytime, your part-time job, anything like that. But I feel like as a kid and even getting older, you still crave like a sort of freedom, creativeness, art, and a kind of adventure of something you want to do or try, because that never really leaves you from a kid. I don't know if that's just me, but that's what I think, at least. And nostalgia really hits in really random moments, like, for example, I was running at the track because I run 3 miles at least. I want to do it. I'm doing it at least like 3 times a week. I run 3 miles at a track, and I saw this person and it looked just like my mom. I wear glasses and I had my glasses off, by the way, and I really had to like look, and then I was like, oh, okay, I know that it wasn't her, but seeing that person kind of brought back some nice times, because my mom and I used to go to the track a long time ago, and that just kind of brought back memories, and it's kind of like, dang, that's a nice memory to have. But anyway, continuing on with the main topic, being older and living by yourself, everything costs money, groceries, insurance, going somewhere, when you want to hang out with your friends, and a lot of them, usually, at least my friends, they want to go out to eat somewhere or have some boba or something. It's kind of like, dang, it kind of feels like hanging out with your own friends feels like a luxury, literally, or it costs money, and I even suggested them, like, why don't we just go hang out somewhere with a really, really nice, amazing view? So, and also another thing, if you live with people and you do chores and you live with multiple people, especially if you live with your parents or any of the friends, and they don't do their laundry and you have to do it for you, please tell them to do their part of the laundry, or for their part to cook their own food, because it makes life a lot easier. But those responsibilities and chores do feel like it takes up a lot of time. At least that's how I make it feel like in my own head. And I realized when I turned 18 and 19, like, time goes by really fast. Holidays come out of nowhere, and I won't even realize what day it is sometimes. And I'll be up in the middle of the day, and I'll be like, dang, it's already April. Like, that's crazy to think. Like, I feel like, and people older than me tell me, like, the older you get, the faster your perception of time gets a lot faster. And I'm starting to see what they mean by that, because at first I didn't really understand it, but now I'm starting to, which I'm glad they gave me a whole bunch of advice. And the thing is that, like, there isn't really a milestone or like a certificate, let's say, like, that says, okay, now you're officially an adult. It's kind of like, it just becomes that. Like, you're kind of just thrown into it. At least that's how I feel, because when you turn 18, 19, it kind of just feels that way. It's like, okay, you need to do things for yourself nowadays. I can't cover for you anymore. I guess that's how parents are. I mean, some of them are like that. Some of them aren't. I think, in my opinion, I think parents should always guide their kid. At least that's what I think. But I think in the Western kind of culture, I feel like it's more pushed to push your kid out of the house after he graduates high school. I feel like nowadays, though, I think because of how expensive everything is, I think a lot of kids rather stay with their parents, because money's a concern, which is very reasonable. And something that I find crazy, at least for me, is the amount of freedom like that you have after you become like an adult. Like, I don't know, like somebody please tell me, like, or maybe you could put it in the comments, but like after you graduated high school or after you were done with school, did it feel like you had a lot more freedom like before you had a job? You get what I'm saying? Like, because bro, you have so much freedom and you're so used to being in a system that when you have all that freedom, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like I'm not given anything to do anymore. Now I make choices for myself, and you're not used to it because we're so used to a system that gives us a system itself. Going to school from when you're little to when you're older. Now, after you graduate high school, now you have to make decisions yourself. Nobody guides you through that. You kind of have to pick for yourself, which I feel like it's kind of a weird system because when you're guided by something so much, you become so reliable. You become so reliant upon it that you don't really think about it much until you're out of that system in itself. So yeah. And also, the thing is that like you also when you get like older or when you become an adult, you start seeing like parents or just older people, like you don't see them as like unks, you know what I'm saying? Like you see them as like we're just regular people, you know what I'm saying? Like they think the same or they might have different thoughts, but at the end of the day they're a person, they used to be young and they understand things, and I start to appreciate older people nowadays because I feel like they have a lot of wisdom, because I feel like experience is something that beats knowledge, man, because you get knowledge from that experience in itself. And I feel like a lot of youngsters, I mean, I'm still considered young, but like maybe younger than me. But a lot of them don't really listen to advice, unless it's somebody that they could relate to. And I feel like even if they can't relate to them, I feel like older people in general just have a lot of wisdom and experience with so many different things, and they could really help somebody out as a mentor. And now, like looking back now, I feel like adulting is a very unique process within all of us, but I think that we're all kind of thrown into without any guides, but it makes it that much more interesting of a journey when you really, really think about it. And you kind of just have to look after yourself a lot more, and I just want to say, good luck to everybody out there, good luck to whatever you're doing in life, everything in general, I hope you're doing good, and make sure to never, ever limit your own potential as a person, because a lot of us do that, because of how the world is. So don't forget about that.